because now I can say with the utmost confidence that I do love Bristol, that I am so happy to be a Bristol law student. But 18-year-old me would sit here and tell you a completely different story. Would tell you how Bristol's not good enough, it's too small, it's not London. Whew. Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, to my space on YouTube. If you haven't met me before, I am Ashana, I'm 22 years old from London, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about my relationship with Bristol University. I'm going to be sharing my story, and this is a story that encompasses so much about who I am, about my approach to problems, about the way I see the world, and how I have managed to literally transform these emotions, literally transform the way that I think and the way that I see something in my life. To get straight into this video, I am going to take you back to 18-year-old me, what that version of me looked like, what was going through my head when I came to Bristol. I remember arriving late on the day of the moving in day and just going into my flat and seeing, well, actually hearing all my other flatmates in the kitchen, and they're like, oh, she's here, because I was the last one they were waiting for, and they'd all arrived hours before in the morning, and here with me turning up, literally rocking up to Bristol in the car with my uncle and moving in my stuff. And I didn't even get to unpack, we were straight off to the hall to start our ceremony or start the welcome talks or whatever. But anyway, so it was during that Freshers Week where I started to feel very anxious, very uneasy, very uncomfortable with where I was living, with why am I even here? All these crazy questions just dawned on me, and I was just this is not my room, I shouldn't be here, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't belong. And I think that is quite a universal feeling, and I remember having conversations with several other people on a one-to-one basis, being am I the only one that's feeling this way? And they were no, don't worry, we are too. But it's very difficult to rationalize that everyone else is feeling the same way when, and especially this is a Bristol thing. I remember the second night I was looking around at the bus stop or going out to a club, and everyone already had their groups, and I was hold on, have I just missed something? I mean, I don't even know the names of my flatmates yet, and there are people best friends already. And that was really kind of scary for me, especially because I came from a sixth form where I knew everyone. We were very tight-knit, we were 60 people in our year. And then to go from that jump to literally living on an island of students, which is where Stoke Bishop is located, I was just so overwhelmed. And yeah, it was difficult. At the same time, I did enjoy myself, but I did have this mental kind of cloud and this mental challenge looming over me. I think that there are two ways to deal with this kind of experience, and in hindsight, I did the best thing I could have done, because that's made me into the person I am now, and I have nothing bad to say about that. But in my opinion, I did it one way. I'm faced with all this kind of anxiety, this overwhelmingness. I didn't think of my 4-step plan strategy back then. I was just I want a quick solution out of this. I do not want to be living through this on a day-by-day basis. And thanks to the fact that Bristol is not that far from London, my strategy, my approach was just to go back to London and hang out there as much as possible. And so during first year, I basically I was present in Bristol, and I have loads of fun memories, but imagine a kind of spectrum where here on this side we've got you in Bristol 100% of the time, here we've got you in Bristol 0%. I probably was in the middle. So to explain that a bit further, at the time I was had loads and loads of close friends of mine living in London. My boyfriend at the time was there, so it felt like I was being pulled to London rather than Bristol, and it felt so much easier. It was my comfort zone rather than this new kind of wave of existence for me, and my identity in Bristol, and all these cool new people and activities and learning law. And I was just hey, I'm in this period of my life where I'd rather be in London. And so I went back and forth a lot of times. I also decided that I would travel a lot, probably because I knew that my first year of law it didn't go towards my official grade, so I wasn't too fussed about my marks. And I basically took first year of uni like a gap year, although I was at uni. So I took trips to Paris, Berlin, New York. I took a trip somewhere else, I can't even remember. But again, it was just pretty nuts. I felt like I was here, there, everywhere, but also at the same time I was a student paying rent for halls, and you know, I had assignments coming in and I was doing seminars, and it was crazy. I don't know how I managed it, but to be honest, I do think that that year of uni gave me this like key skill of like being organized in a way that still allows me to like do cool things and like experience life in a quite a dynamic and interesting, creative way. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and say I did uni wrong, because no, for me that is what worked for me. At some point, it wasn't just as kind of like airy-fairy and as fun as I might be making it sound like now. And I will stress on that, that around like exam time, I think maybe like April, May 2019, I was literally fed up with Bristol. I thought to myself, I don't want to be here. I thought, you know, I've been traveling so much, I've been going to London. Isn't that just a way of me escaping Bristol? Like, surely you just don't want to be in this place. So why don't I actually find an effective solution, a long-term solution, which would be to leave Bristol? So I went on this like huge crazy mission of transferring from Bristol Law School to any other London-based law school. So I literally remember this so well. I went to Karen Scott's office, who is the head of law school at UCL, and she kind of knew me because I'd been to the open day, and I got an offer initially to study at UCL, but I rejected it on the basis that I wanted to go to Bristol and move cities and all of that jazz. And anyway, I went to her office in London and I was like crying, just like, please take me, I don't want to be at Bristol, like I regret not taking UCL's offer. And she kind of just sat there like, babes, there's nothing we can do, you know, I feel sorry for you, I really do, but join us for a master's. And I was just like, a master's? That's like 2 years away, actually 3 years away, because I wanted to do a year abroad. And I just sat there like, you know what, it just kind of hit me in that moment that I just have to face this. You know, I was gonna have to either drop out and just write off this whole uni thing as a failure, or I'd have to stick with it and grow through it. That is the beginning of the story. That is the beginning of my love-hate relationship with Bristol. Many of my friends will corroborate that. They will tell you there was like running jokes about me never being in Bristol, about me always being in London, just being anywhere else but Bristol. And it's funny now, but at the time it used to bother me because it was true. Every joke has like some sort of reality attached to it, some sort of truth attached to it, and it was obvious that I wasn't liking Bristol. And I think that many times I tried to convince myself that I did, and that was why I didn't like it. I felt that the social atmosphere was so toxic. It was very kind of all-encompassing. I didn't feel like there was an escape. Maybe that's linked to my own kind of the way that I form relationships and the way that I see social settings, and I don't know, it is very intense. And I just felt that I was meeting all these new people and maybe making new friends, but to no avail. I felt that it was like very substanceless, like friendships with no substance. And perhaps I was just being naive in assuming that. And of course, with every relationship, you need to give it time. You need to give it the ability to blossom into a friendship. Second year, I found a house with 10 people. That didn't work out for me, so I moved. I literally changed tenancies for the second term of my second year at Bristol. And that was, you know, I really enjoyed that house, but COVID then hit in March 2020 and I moved back to London. I still at that point was like, I mean, I kind of just like accepted that Bristol was my university experience, and I didn't hate it, but I didn't exactly love it. And I think moving houses in the second term of my second year made things better. But again, when COVID hit, I was actually really happy to be leaving, and I was like, oh, great, I can just spend like the rest of the year in Bristol. The only downside was that I still had to pay rent for a room that I wasn't actually living in, But there we go, that happened to a lot of other students, so thank you, landlords, thank you. So I moved back to London and I was there for the majority of the lockdown. I did my exams in London and it was all well and dandy, and I came back to Bristol at the end of the year to move my stuff out. Now, let's just take a reflection at this point, because first year was, again, really on the bad side if we think about the spectrum with love-hate Bristol. Second year, I was only really present for about 40% of that year because of COVID, and I don't really count that year anyway because it was just so all over the place and all the moving houses, it was just nuts. However, I must say that it was in my second year that I was looking forward to my year abroad in my third year. Now, originally my plan was to study in Japan at Kyushu University, studying Japanese culture and language. That didn't happen per se. In my third year, which was last year, I didn't travel to Japan because of COVID, but I did still end up traveling, and it was the year of my life where I started my YouTube channel, where I traveled to Mexico, I was an au pair in France, and I interned at an events company in San Francisco. And this is so crucial to this video, and this part of my life, this third year of Bristol, was the turning point, was really the critical turning point in the way that I saw Bristol, the way that I saw my relationship with university and what it actually meant for me as a person. And I think in a way, this was all low-key, like, internally planned by me. After 2 years of not liking Bristol, I was like, you know what? Whatever happens, at least I've got this third year studying abroad and it's gonna be great. And I'm gonna have a year break from law, I'm gonna be out of Bristol, and it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be great. It was great. It was so much more than great, and there are a few words to describe it, but crucially during that year, and I've got loads of videos on my channel going through what I did, how I did it, and how I felt. That year made me crave like some sort of structure. I started to really look forward to coming back to Bristol. You know, they say that distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? And I mean, it is really true. I started to crave that structure. I started to crave like knowing a city so well, knowing, you know, the way to get to different libraries, knowing that, you know, there are cute little bakeries. I really craved that sense of structure, that sense of rhythm that came with Bristol, that I'd since, you know, to that point, that was why I disliked it. And so when I came back to Bristol in October last year, I felt this like, just this like awe, this, oh my God, I'm so happy to be back. Oh my goodness, you know, how could I have not liked you this whole time? And all the things that I didn't like about Bristol in my first and second year, I now love. The fact that it's small, the fact that it is not London, the fact that there are so many independent shops, huge culture for like music and underground kind of scenes and raves and clubs, and the green spaces, the fact that you're near the seaside, you can literally take your bike and be in the woods and go and visit lakes, and it is beautiful. It is beautiful, and it is such a lovely, cool, dynamic city. It is perfect for students. And here I am saying all of this, and you know, you can rewind to 5 minutes where 5 minutes ago I said that I hate Bristol. And that for me, this whole story represents growth, represents personal growth, it represents resilience, it represents my approach to challenge, my approach to feeling uncomfortable, my approach to being scared about something and just doing it anyway. I have repaired my relationship with Bristol. I don't want to run away to London all the time. I'm here to stay. I love being in Bristol. I love my university. I love what I study. And to that version of myself from 2018 that hated this place, with all respect, literally just, you know, who are you? I don't recognize you. I don't know you. That is an old version of myself. That is someone that did not serve me and that sees things in a different way. I think that whatever you take from this story, what I take is that we are capable of so much more than we can imagine, and that our thoughts and our feelings are not reflective of our identities, and we are so much more. And when given the time and the space, we can do anything. So much of what I share on this channel is about being open, about being creative, about exploring, about not being scared. And to now be able to share this story on YouTube with my friends, with my family, to be able to say that I've come full circle and to be proud of that, that is such a huge thing for me, and it represents a lot of my personal growth. So yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video. I hope that it resonates with some of you watching as well. If you are a university student, if you're going to university, please trust me, it's all gonna be fine. It might be challenging, it might be hard, but hopefully, like me, you'll look back at the end of your time at university and you'll say, you know what? I do love it here. I do love my uni, I do love my course. I've made some great friends and I'm so happy that it happened. And on that note, I will get back to my studying. And thank you all very, very much for being here. It is always a pleasure. You're all very welcome, and have a lovely rest of your days. Bye.